on the subject of desires, it would be a big help if the understanding took place that it is not my desire. Desire has arisen. What happens is the ego claims ownership of the desire and then has a problem with the desire because it must get fulfilled, and if it doesn't get fulfilled, I will get frustrated. But when desire arises as pure desire, you can actually see it take its course or not. And over time, when that gap is there between a pure desire and not my desire and the witnessing of it, what will happen is you will see over time the desire will arise whenever it's supposed to. But you also get a bit distanced from the desire. And slowly you find that the desire loses its charge. You cannot do anything to reduce the charge of a desire. You can bring a space of silence and witnessing to it if possible. But it is everyone's experience that the minute they try to suppress a desire or control a desire or fulfill a desire, there's a lot of frustration because the desire may or may not get fulfilled. Sometimes you're doing things which are not good for you, but you cannot help it. You just cannot help it. But with the understanding that this is not my desire, but desire is arising, already you are seeing the desire in an impartial light. And you will see the wonders this kind of an approach can do to desires. You create a distance, and then one is no longer dependent on the outcome of the desire being fulfilled or not over duration. It could even snap sometimes and a transformation can happen overnight. But my understanding is that the space to honor the desire for what it is and not claim ownership of it and witness it for what it is, that is what creates the shift. Just meeting the desire in that silent space, rather than getting entangled as if it's a problem which I have to deal with because I created it. There was a man who met me about 3 months ago. His issue was on addiction and silly addictions, like not, major stuff like alcohol. It was just small things. He would want to buy 4 or 5 of them and all that. And he said, I cannot help it. And I said, sure, otherwise if you could, you wouldn't do it. So first accept it that you cannot help it. That itself set him back, He said, really? I said, of course. The sheer fact that it's happening means it's happening. You cannot help it. Secondly, please understand that those are just objects in consciousness. What one is addicted to, I guess any therapist would say this, is the feeling you get. The addiction is to the feeling, not to the object. And again he said, really? And I said, I'm not saying rocket science. This is probably a very fundamentals of therapy. But I could see that he was probably so identified with these past patterns of addiction and saying it's my addiction and my problem and how do I deal with it, that suddenly he was seeing things in a different light, So he said, what should I do the next time this happens? So I said, nothing to do. But don't add baggage onto that addiction. Meet it, if possible, in the space where you allow it and see it for what it is. And maybe over time there'll be a transformation, there'll be a shift, there'll be a lessening of a particular addiction. I really don't know because I'm not a specialist in that. But I think one thing we can bring to such situations is silence and accepting the fact that it is there and not considering that as a problem created by oneself, which one has to sort out. And in that clear light of witnessing that, transformations tend to take place.